2007 was the year when Bioshock got released. Bioshock takes place in the 1960s in the fictional lower city of Rapture. Built in the late 1940s by a business tycoon Andrew Ryan, it was meant to be a laissez-faire social environment for individuals to work, live and prosper out of the increasingly oppressive hands of the world's governments and authorities. The scientists of Rapture soon discovered a substance called ADM found in a species of sea slug on the ocean's floor. With ADM, they could create plasmids that would modify a person's genetic material, granting them superhuman-like abilities, and soon became a valuable commodity. They devised a means of harvesting ADM using little girls named Little Sisters, implanting the sea dogs into their stomachs. Extended use of ADM was found to lead to mental instability in its users, and along with other political and social movements with Rapture, the Little Sister became target of those desiring more ADM. To protect them, the science created big daddies, mentally conditioned and mutated humans in armored diving suits that drove off any attackers from Little Sisters. On the eve of 1959, war broke out in Rapture between its classic, fueled by ADM-addicted splicers. The war left Rapture a dystopia within a year, with the few non-ADM users sheltering themselves from splicers. The player controls Jack, a man that stumbles upon Rapture after his plane crashes near the Rapture bathysphere thermos. Jack is quickly guided by a man named Atlas. We are ready to help protect him from the splicers and save his family from the ruthless hands of Andrew Ryan. In 2010 we got Bioshock 2. Set in the fictional underwater dystopian city of Rapture, the game's story takes place 8 years after Bioshock. Assuming control of the subject data, or hulking Big Daddy players are tasked with fighting through splices the psychotic human population of the city using weapons and an array of genetic modification. The game also introduces a story-driven multiplayer mode called Fall of Rapture, which takes place during the Rapture 1959 Civil War before the events of the first game. Bioshock 2 opens on New Year's Eve in 1958, 2 years before the events of the first game, as the subject Delta patrols Neptune with his little sisters, Eleanor. Eleanor is separated from Delta by her mother, Sophia Lamb, who uses the mind control plasmid on Delta to make him shoot himself. 10 years later, Delta awakens, revealed by Little Sisters under the control of Eleanor. Delta is drawn towards Eleanor by their past Big Daddy Little connection. The story received major changes over the course of the development. Gary Smith, the composer of the first game, returned to create the score for Bioshock 2. And in 2013, we got Bioshock Infinite. Bioshock Infinite takes place in 1912 in Columbia, a city suspended in the air through a combination of quantum levitation and giant blimps and balloons. It was built and launched in 1893 by the American government during the World's Fair in Chicago. To much fanfare and publicity, it was later involved in an international incident by firing upon a group of Chinese civilians during the Boxer Rebellion. The city was disposed by the United States government, and the location of the city was soon lost to everyone else. The game is set in the year 1912 and follows its protagonist, former Pinkerton agent Booker DeWitt, who is sent into the airborne city of Columbia to find a young woman, Elizabeth, who has been held captive there for most of her life. During this conflict, Booker learns Elizabeth possesses through strange powers to manipulate tears. Like previous Bioshock games, the player uses a combination of weapons, clothing called gear that offer unique abilities, that offer unique attributes, and powers granted through vigors. Elizabeth's powers can also be used to fight hostile forces. In contrast to the limited space of the undercity of Rapture, the openness of Columbia provides for more dynamic combat, including combat that takes place aboard the city skyline roller coasters like rail system. As a result of the city isolation, a civil war even eventually broke out to Columbia between different factions and citizens. At the time of the game events, only two main factions remain. One group is the Founders, the remnants of those retaining power over the city led by Zenki Hall Comstock, which seeks to keep Columbia poorly for American citizens. The other group is named Vox Populi, a ragtag resistance group led by Daisy Fitzroy, formed from several factions with similar ideologies that fought to seize control and assert the rights of Columbia citizenship to all. However, years of war and struggle have driven Foxball to fight the powers that be solely out of blinded hatred, resulting in more violent, brutal, and leading factions to the group. And now it is 2019 and we are wondering when Bioshock 4 is gonna be released, announced, or at least confirmed. Now, players have speculated that Parkside is the name of the next Bioshock. This information has been gotten from the studio Hangar 13, which they say they're working on a project called Parkside, which many believe to be the new Bioshock. So yeah, no matter how much we want it to happen, it's likely that we'll get to play Bioshock 4 during this console lifecycle. With the looming release of the PlayStation 5, it's likely that the Bioshock series is going to skip this generation. This will not be a bad thing because it gives the devs enough time to fully realize their vision under the best hardware available at the time. With no official announcement in sight, it's impossible to accurately predict Bioshock 4 release date. However, there are a few leaks hinting at a 2020 launch, including a strong rumor coming straight from the popular industry analyst Michael Patcher. While Patcher is known for his hits and misses, he used to make predictions based on his knowledge of the market and boasts some correct forecasts on his sheet, such as the Battle Royale mode for Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Also, many people seem to wonder where Bioshock 4 will be set. Is it the Bioshock Infinite sequel? Well, it's not likely that Bioshock 4 will be a direct follow-up to the Bioshock Infinite, considering that a burial of a CDLC for the latter ties some loose ends. It's also doubtful that a return to Rapture is in the cards, as this underwater city was covered throughout in Bioshock 1 and Bioshock 2. According to the words from one Hangar 13 employee, the Bioshock 4 team is trying to be really smart about figuring out where the core thing is. Although all Bioshock games share some of the same mechanics and concepts, that core thing probably refers to the location and narrative. A new location also jeopardized the return of Big Daddy, Songbird, or even Elizabeth, although there are other elements to play that contributed to this. So, this has been the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to leave a like on it, and I'll see you at my other videos. Have a good one, fams.
But miss the clutch, these Romanian trees for the system's touch. Whoa, liquor is finest, your highness, German president, your highness. Wait, I'm here to slay the demons that harness, tarnus. Join us, the time is upon us. Fuck the game, just hold my PS4. I do it for my soul, so with the BS4. Me and rap, don't show us liaison. The whole game is off, use me as on.